At some point, I'd be interested in hearing from your experiences in terms of participating. There's going to be one presentation going on the screen, which is kind of the academic piece, and then I'm going to be talking. And so there's juxtaposition and sometimes resonance between those two threads, and I don't know if you'll be able to parse both at the same time or have to switch to one or another. So at some point privately, I'd be curious to hear about your experiences with this presentation. And I also want to thank Gentry. The obligatory thanks for putting the panel together, but thanks for leading and being a visionary in this field. So, I think before we go any further, I really wanted to call attention to that. I first came to love digital work just a few miles from here in various basements at UT. It didn't hit me until I got to town. This couldn't just be the usual academic presentation. This is where it all started for me. I was an English graduate student pushed into a space for collaboration. I loved it because I was steeped in theory wars, poetics, lit crit, a safe path for the aspiring PhD. What a transformation, the speakeasy space of the computer lab. This was before the Weird campaign, but the culture in the lab was all about pushing boundaries and taking risks. It worked because it was built on a platform of trust and collaboration, care and repair. The academic portion of this presentation is playing in the background. It's setting up the premise that critique sometimes no longer serves as well, or at least needs some care and repair. There's some background quotes and video captures of word frequencies in critiques of the poem, The Red Wheelbarrow. After the setup, the presentation pivots to proposing an alternative based on two possibilities. One, moving toward revision narratives and captures of process as a mode of critique. Perhaps we can shift to description and focus on composing processes as a way of driving our responses to text. The second possibility is using digital tools to develop generative, expansive modes of response. Creating such tools or responses requires a lab-like posture, some risky scholars. You can see the possibilities for these tools. Versioning and capturing, for instance. They offer a means of putting together revision narratives. If we want to know more about the genesis of the text, turn on the camera and watch it blossom on the screen. Of course, like any good academic presentation, there is always a but, or more positively, an and. In this case, the captures and materials are very much composed. The writing changes as the music in the composing scene shifts. And still there are gaps between the words as they form, between the layers as they're captured, between the screen and the space around it. So much depends upon what we bring to the reading and on what we feel through the reading. This presentation accepts that truth. The quotes point out the need to embrace the subjective, the affective, to cast critique not as a mode of suspicious interrogation, but as a means of remaking the self. Care and repair. The Red Wheelbarrow is an 8-line poem. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. The critiques run 20 pages or more. They cast the poem as about class or race or sex or modernism or metaphysics. The meaning is in the gaps. My favorite is the one that sees the poem as about a certain cast of light. The presentation takes up one more challenge, the limits of the screen. I once thought the screen was the place where composing happens, a space where world and self could mix. It is, and there's so much more. It is embodied, reflected, captured, situated. The screen is limited, and it's unlimited in the ways it's instantiated and inscribed. Consider these videos. The first one filmed last is a scene, sorry, that's not the first one. The first one, filmed last, is a scene from outside of my window. And you can see it contains a screen, but it's not the usual screen that we might think of. The second, filmed first, is captured with a laptop camera, and it films a scene in front of the camera. The third, filmed in the middle, is again captured with a cell phone, and it reveals the laptop camera and the laptop as it's capturing the first video. I've lost track of the count. It also reveals a bit of trickery, as you see the projector, which is casting an image upon the scene in front of the laptop camera, turning it into a screen. And all of this is captured on my screen here, instantiated there, captured and projected here, multiple lenses, multiple screens. None of this has yet been inscribed through a screen capture or a laptop camera until now.
Action.
I walk in the rain from time to time. I feel the drops upon my face and see them as they glisten in the light so bright on the wheelbarrow. Smell of sweet gardenia in the air. There's a scratching in the dirt nearby, and you wonder why. And you turn to hear, and your eye is clear as the birds appear. I will walk beside you till the end, and we will just grow closer with each tender hour we spend, looking out upon the garden as it turns toward the sunlight. Like a friend, 'cause on you and I together, and the chickens and the weather, so much depends. I whisper your name from time to time. I smell the drops upon your hair, and I take your hand in mine, and I hold you tight. I find your smile and the sunshine, and the clouds open like islands in the sky. Birds are scratching here nearby, and a silver light it shines on the colors in your eyes and the water-covered sides of the wheelbarrow.
beside you till the end. We will just grow closer with each tender hour we spend, looking out upon the garden as it turns toward the sunlight. Like a friend, 'cause on you and I together, and the chickens and the weather,
so much depends
depends
on you and I together, and the chickens and the weather. So much depends